Have you ever sat beside an older person and felt there was something they wanted to say, but never did? Maybe it was your grandfather staring quietly out the window. Maybe it was your grandmother smiling during family gatherings while carrying emotions nobody could see. Or perhaps it was an elderly neighbor who always seemed calm on the outside, yet carried an untold story deep within. The truth is, as people grow older, they don't just collect years. They collect memories, regrets, lessons, heartbreaks, dreams that never happened, and truths they often take to their graves. Many younger people assume that older adults openly share everything with their families. But real life tells a different story. Some of the most important thoughts, fears, and realizations remain locked inside their hearts for decades. Not because they are dishonest, not because they don't trust their family, but because some truths are too painful to explain. Some lessons were learned too late, and some emotions are so personal that putting them into words feels impossible. Think about this. How many times have you heard someone say, "I wish I had asked my father more questions before he passed away," or "I never knew my mother felt that way until it was too late"? This happens everywhere. People spend years living under the same roof, yet never truly understand what is happening inside one another's minds. The older a person becomes, the more they realize that life is not just about what happened. It's also about what was never said. And today, we're going to uncover some of those hidden truths. These are the secrets many older adults keep buried deep inside themselves. Secrets they often never reveal, not even to their children, not even to their spouse, and sometimes not even to their closest friends. As this video continues, you may begin to see your parents, grandparents, and even your own future in a completely different way. Because behind every aging face is a story that most people never hear. And the final secret may be the one that changes how you look at life forever. So make sure you stay until the end. Let's begin. 1. They regret wasting so much time worrying. One of the most painful secrets many older adults carry is not something they did. It's something they spent years doing inside their own minds. Worrying. When you're young, worry feels responsible. It feels like you're preparing for the future. You tell yourself that if you think about every possible problem, you'll somehow prevent bad things from happening. So you worry about money. You worry about your career. You worry about what people think about you. You worry about making mistakes. You worry about losing opportunities. You worry about the future so much that you forget to live in the present. But then something happens as the years pass. Many older adults eventually look back over decades of life and realize a shocking truth. Most of the things they spent countless nights worrying about never actually happened. The disaster they imagined never came. The embarrassment they feared was quickly forgotten. The opinions of other people turned out to matter far less than they thought. And the future they spent years fearing arrived in a completely different form than they expected. Imagine a man who spent 20 years constantly worrying about becoming poor. He worked extra hours, sacrificed vacations, missed family gatherings, and lived under constant stress. Yet when he reaches old age, he realizes that his greatest loss was never money. It was the precious moments he never got back, the birthdays he missed, the laughter he postponed, the memories he was too busy worrying to create. Many older adults quietly carry this realization in their hearts. They understand that worry stole something from them that can never be replaced: time. And perhaps the most heartbreaking part is this: while they were busy fearing life, life was already happening. Their children were growing up. Their parents were growing older. Their strongest years were passing by, day after day, month after month, year after year, until one day they looked in the mirror and wondered where all the time had gone. That is why many older adults wish they could tell younger people one powerful lesson: do not sacrifice today's joy for tomorrow's fear. Because in the end, the things that hurt the most are often not the problems that happened, but the beautiful moments you never allowed yourself to enjoy because you were too busy worrying about what might happen. 2. They still think about certain regrets. One of the most surprising secrets about growing older is that age does not erase memories. In many cases, it does the exact opposite. As the years pass, certain memories become sharper, more emotional, and more difficult to forget. Many older adults carry regrets that have quietly followed them for decades. Regrets they rarely talk about. Regrets that still appear during sleepless nights, quiet mornings, or moments when they find themselves alone with their thoughts. To younger people, this may seem hard to understand. After all, if something happened 30 or 40 years ago, shouldn't it be forgotten by now? But life doesn't work that way. Some decisions leave footprints on the soul, and those footprints never completely disappear. For some, it's the person they loved but never fought for. Maybe pride got in the way. Maybe fear did. Maybe they assumed there would always be more time. Then one day that person was gone, and the opportunity disappeared forever. Decades later, they still wonder what their life would have looked like if they had simply picked up the phone, spoken honestly, or taken one more chance. For others, it's a dream they abandoned, the business they never started, the book they never wrote, the country they never visited, the talent they never developed because they were too busy pleasing everyone else. And now they know something that only time can teach. The pain of failure fades surprisingly fast, but the pain of never trying can last a lifetime. What's heartbreaking is that many older adults don't openly discuss these regrets. To the outside world, they seem calm and content. They smile at family gatherings, they tell stories, they laugh. But deep inside, certain moments still revisit them like old ghosts. Not because they are trapped in the past, but because they now understand how much power a single decision can have. A single yes, a single no, a single moment of courage, or a single moment of fear can completely change the direction of an entire life. And perhaps that is the lesson many older adults wish younger people understood sooner. Life is rarely destroyed by one big mistake. More often, it is shaped by the chances we never take. Because when people reach the final chapters of life, they usually don't spend their time asking, "What if I had failed?" Instead, they quietly ask themselves a far more painful question: what if I had tried? 3. They sometimes feel lonelier than people realize. One of the most misunderstood realities of growing older is loneliness. And not the kind of loneliness most people imagine. Many younger people assume that if an older adult has family, receives phone calls, or occasionally sees friends, they can't possibly feel lonely. But loneliness is not simply the absence of people. Sometimes it is the feeling of no longer being truly seen, no longer being truly needed, no longer being at the center of the life you once built. Many older adults experience a quiet loneliness that is almost invisible to everyone around them. Their children may visit from time to time. Grandchildren may stop by during holidays. Friends may call occasionally. Yet when the door closes and the house becomes silent again, they are left alone with a feeling that is difficult to describe. A feeling that their world has slowly become smaller. Think about it. There was once a time when people depended on them every day. Their phone constantly rang. Their advice was needed. Their presence mattered in every decision. They were raising children, building careers, solving problems, supporting others, and carrying responsibilities. Then one day, without warning, life changes. The children grow up. The workplace moves on. Friends pass away or move away. The busy years disappear. And suddenly the days become much quieter. Many older adults spend hours looking through old photographs, not because they are living in the past, but because those pictures remind them of a time when life felt full of movement, purpose, and connection. What makes this loneliness even more heartbreaking is that many never talk about it. They don't want to burden anyone. They don't want their children to feel guilty. They don't want to sound ungrateful for the love they still receive. So instead, they smile. They tell jokes. They say they're doing fine, even when deep inside, they wish someone would sit down and truly listen. Not for 5 minutes, not while checking a phone, but genuinely listen. Because sometimes the greatest pain of aging is not physical, it is emotional. It is watching the world continue moving forward while feeling as though you are slowly becoming invisible. And perhaps that is why one sincere conversation can mean more to an older person than most people will ever understand. Because beneath the smiles, beneath the stories, and beneath the ordinary conversations, many older adults carry a silent hope. The hope that they are still valued, still remembered, and still deeply loved, even if they never say it out loud. 4. They know life passes far faster than young people believe. One of the deepest secrets many older adults carry is a realization that is difficult to understand when you're young. Life moves much faster than you think. If you ask many older people what surprises them most about aging, you'll often hear the same response. It feels like yesterday. Yesterday, they were graduating from school. Yesterday, they were starting their first job. Yesterday, they were holding their children for the first time. And yet somehow, decades have already passed. When you're young, time feels endless. A year feels long. A decade feels almost unimaginable. You assume there will always be another opportunity, another summer, another birthday, another chance to do the things you've been postponing. But older adults know something most young people don't. Years don't move slowly. They accelerate. One day you're making plans for the future, and before you realize it, those plans have become memories. The child whose hand you once held is now raising children of their own. The friends you laughed with every weekend become people you haven't spoken to in years. The parents who seemed permanent suddenly exist only in photographs. Entire chapters of life close so quietly that you don't even notice they're ending until they're already gone. That is what makes this realization so emotional. Most older adults can still remember ordinary moments from 40 years ago as if they happened last week. A family dinner, a road trip, a conversation with someone they loved. At the time, those moments felt ordinary. But looking back, they now realize they were living through some of the most precious days of their lives. And they didn't know it. Perhaps that is the cruelest part about time. You rarely recognize the good old days while you're living them. You only recognize them after they've passed. Many older adults secretly wish younger people understood this sooner. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop assuming there will always be more time. Stop postponing your happiness until some future date. Because life is not happening next year. Life is not waiting for you after you become successful, wealthy, or completely prepared. Life is happening right now. This conversation, this day, this season of your life, these people around you, one day, much sooner than you think. Today's ordinary moments may become the memories you would give anything to experience one more time. And that is why older adults understand a truth that can shake a person to their core. The years may feel long while you're living them, but when you look back, they often feel like a single breath. 5. They sometimes hide their fears about aging. One of the biggest secrets many older adults never openly discuss is that beneath their calm appearance, they often carry fears that few people ever see. To the outside world, they seem strong. They smile. They tell stories. They say they're doing fine. They try to appear confident and comfortable. But behind that smile, many are quietly fighting battles inside their minds. Because aging doesn't just change the body, it changes the way a person sees the future. One of the greatest fears many older adults carry is the fear of losing their independence. For most of their lives, they were the ones helping others. They drove themselves wherever they needed to go. They solved their own problems. They paid their own bills. They took care of their families. Then one day they noticed something small. Maybe climbing stairs feels harder. Maybe their memory isn't quite as sharp. Maybe they need help with something they once did effortlessly. And in that moment, a frightening thought enters their mind. What if one day I can no longer take care of myself? For many older adults, this fear is far more painful than aging itself. Because independence is not just about physical ability. It's tied to dignity, identity, and self-respect. But perhaps an even deeper fear is the fear of becoming a burden. Imagine spending decades sacrificing for your children, protecting your family, and doing everything possible to make life easier for the people you love. Then imagine worrying that one day those same people may have to sacrifice their time, energy, and freedom to care for you. Many older adults think about this far more than they admit. In fact, some stay silent about health problems for months because they don't want their loved ones to worry. They hide their pain. They minimize their struggles. They pretend everything is normal, not because they aren't afraid, but because they love their family too much to add more weight to their lives. And perhaps the most heartbreaking part is that these fears are often carried completely alone. The parent who always seemed fearless, the grandparent who always gave advice, the person everyone depends on, may secretly lie awake at night wondering what the future holds, wondering how much time remains, wondering whether they will still be able to live life on their own terms. That is why many older adults deserve more understanding than they receive, because sometimes the strongest people you know are carrying the heaviest fears, silently, patiently, and with a courage that nobody notices, until one day you realize just how much they were carrying all along. 6. They often wish they had been more themselves. One of the most personal regrets many older adults carry is the realization that they spent too much of their life trying to become the person everyone else wanted them to be. When we're young, we are constantly surrounded by expectations. Parents tell us what success should look like. Society tells us how we should live. Friends influence our decisions. And little by little, many people begin shaping their lives around approval rather than authenticity. They choose careers they don't truly love because it looks respectable. They stay silent when they want to speak. They hide parts of their personality to avoid criticism. They follow paths that feel safe instead of paths that feel meaningful. At first, these sacrifices seem small, but over the years, they add up. And one day, many older adults look back and realize something painful. They spent decades meeting other people's expectations while quietly abandoning pieces of themselves. Perhaps they dreamed of becoming an artist but chose a different life because others discouraged them. Perhaps they wanted to travel, start a business, move somewhere new, or pursue a passion that made them feel alive. But fear, responsibility, and the opinions of others convinced them to stay where they were. The heartbreaking part is that many of these people achieved exactly what society told them to achieve. They worked hard. They fulfilled obligations. They did everything they were supposed to do. Yet deep inside, a question still remains. Did I truly live my life? Or did I simply live the life others expected from me? That question can echo through a person's mind for years, because as people grow older, they begin to understand something powerful. The opinions that once seemed so important eventually disappear. The critics move on. The pressure fades. But the life you didn't live remains with you. And that is why many older adults secretly wish they had spoken more honestly, taken more chances, and trusted themselves more. Because in the end, one of life's greatest tragedies is not failing. It is reaching the later chapters of your story and realizing you spent too much time wearing masks and not enough time being yourself. The people who seem the wisest often learn this lesson the hardest. And if they could go back, many would tell you the same thing. Be careful not to lose yourself while trying to please everyone else. 7. They understand that success is not what most people think. One of the most profound realizations many older adults reach is that success is not what they spent most of their lives believing it was. When people are young, success often has a very specific image. A bigger house, a higher salary, a respected title, more achievements, more recognition, more status. Many spend decades chasing these things because they believe that once they finally reach them, they will feel fulfilled. And for a while, that pursuit can be exciting. The promotions, the accomplishments, the goals achieved. But as the years pass, many older adults begin to notice something unexpected. The moments that stay in their hearts are rarely the moments they spent working late at the office. They rarely cherish the extra hours spent chasing another promotion. They rarely look back and think, I wish I had spent more time impressing people. Instead, their minds return to moments that seemed ordinary at the time. A family dinner where everyone was together, a spontaneous conversation with a close friend, a quiet morning watching the sunrise, a child's laughter filling the house, a loved one's embrace after a difficult day. These simple moments become priceless because they are connected to something far more valuable than achievement. They are connected to love, connection, presence, and meaning. Imagine a person who spent 40 years climbing the ladder of success. They earned money, gained recognition, and achieved goals others admired. But now, sitting in a quiet room later in life, they realized they would gladly trade many of those achievements for one more evening with someone they loved and lost. That realization changes everything. Because eventually, most people discover that life is not measured by what you owned. It is measured by what you experienced. Not by how important you appeared to strangers, but by how deeply you connected with the people who mattered most. And perhaps that is the hidden lesson older adults wish younger generations understood sooner. The world teaches you to chase success, but life eventually teaches you to cherish moments. Because at the end of the journey, very few people remember the numbers in their bank account or the titles on their business card. They remember the people who made them laugh, the people who loved them, and the moments that made them feel truly alive. And for many older adults, that lesson arrives much later than they wish it had, which is why they quietly hope others learn it before it's too late. 8. The secret they rarely say out loud. They want to be remembered. This may be the deepest secret many older adults carry. A secret so personal that most never say it out loud. Beneath the memories, the regrets, the fears, and the lessons of a lifetime lies a simple human desire: to matter, to know that their life meant something, to know that when they are gone, they will not simply disappear from the hearts of the people they loved. Most older adults never ask for attention. They don't demand recognition. They rarely sit their family down and say, "Please remember me." But deep inside, many quietly hope that the love they gave, the sacrifices they made, and the lessons they shared will continue to live on long after they are gone. Think about a grandfather who spent decades working long hours to provide for his family, or a mother who sacrificed her own dreams to give her children opportunities she never had, or a grandmother who filled a home with warmth, comfort, and unconditional love. Most of those acts never make headlines. There are no awards, no standing ovations, no public celebrations. Yet those sacrifices shaped entire lives. And as people grow older, they sometimes wonder whether those efforts will be remembered, whether anyone will still tell their stories, whether their grandchildren will remember the sound of their laughter, whether anyone will remember the advice they gave, the traditions they created, or the love they poured into the people around them. Because when a person reaches the later chapters of life, their definition of success changes completely. The questions become different. They no longer ask, "Did I earn enough money?" They ask, "Did I make a difference? Did I love enough? Will anyone remember that I was here?" And perhaps that question lives inside all of us more than we realize. Because at the end of life, people rarely fear being forgotten by the world. They fear being forgotten by the people they love. That is why a simple conversation can mean so much. A question about an old memory, a request to tell a story, a moment of genuine attention. Those small acts silently tell a person, "You mattered, you still matter, and your life will not be forgotten." Because in the end, the greatest legacy is not wealth, status, or achievements. It is the imprint you leave on human hearts, the kindness you shared, the lives you touched, the love you gave. And for many older adults, there is no greater comfort than believing that when their journey ends, a part of them will continue living on in the memories of those they loved most. That is the secret they rarely say out loud, but perhaps it is the secret that matters the most. As we conclude, the next time you speak to an older person, remember this: you are not talking to someone who simply has more years. You are talking to someone carrying decades of victories, heartbreaks, lessons, regrets, and wisdom. Someone whose untold story may contain answers you have been searching for your entire life. And perhaps the greatest tragedy is not that these secrets exist. It's that many people never hear them until it's too late. So while you still can, ask questions, listen carefully, and value the wisdom sitting quietly beside you. Because one day, you may find yourself carrying these same secrets too. And when that day comes, you'll understand why some truths remain hidden for a lifetime. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear these powerful life lessons today.